Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some breaking news coming out of Gainesville tonight as the University of Florida officially lands the commitment of four-star linebacker from the state of Alabama, Myles Johnson, and obviously a guy who has previously committed to the University of Alabama. And I think Florida getting a really, really interesting prospect, especially from an athletic standpoint. I think you saw in high school, played a lot of running back, played linebacker too. I think there's a lot of maybe some development to do with Myles Johnson, but I think when you look at how this Florida linebacker room is kind of coming together, have a couple of really good true freshmen coming in, have some good guys at the true sophomore spot, especially with Grayson Howard coming over from the University of South Carolina. I think that gives Myles Johnson some time to develop his linebacker game, especially under Ron Roberts, who again I think we both especially think here can do a really, really good job with this linebacker room and get that level up. I think that was a big issue, obviously, last year. So again, having the athleticism, the talent in that room, I think Ron Roberts should have a really good group for a handful of years to come, frankly. And Myles Johnson will be another guy in that kind of lineage. So really interested to see what he can kind of be. And again, I don't know that he'll play super early, both from the standpoint of having a lot of guys playing above him who are really talented, but also just a guy who, again, played a lot of running back in high school. I think still needs to develop maybe his instincts and some of like the play speed that he kind of plays with at that linebacker spot. But a guy who I think down the line is going to be a really good player because he does have the athletic traits I think you're certainly looking for. So before we get too deep into the player, just wanted to thank all the Florida fans for all the support that you guys have been really showing since really day one of the channel, and we really do appreciate that. So again, if you do enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, interacting. All that stuff really does mean the world to us. So and without further ado, just wanted to get into a couple plays and kind of some things that I think exemplify the skill set that Myles Johnson has. So obviously you see on this play, he's playing as that play side linebacker here circled. But I think, again, this play just really it shows that ability to go sideline to sideline and close on guys really quickly. And I think those are really important things you're kind of looking for from the new modern day linebackers. I mean, seeing a lot of ball. I think the fact that you need to both be able to play in space but also in the box, I think is becoming super important as teams, again, spread the ball out, but also show the ability to run power, be able to run physically into that spread look, but also get the ball outside. I think Myles Johnson, his ability to cover the field really is that kind of, again, intriguing skill set that really is highlighted in his game at the high school level, especially. And again, I think you see it on this next play too. Just seeing some of that ability to close really effectively in close distance. I mean, in this play, playing on the backside, and I think his ability to come over the top of that block, again, what the offensive line, I'd say, did a pretty good job, obviously working up, getting into kind of his lap, but his ability to flow over the top of those blocks and close the space down, I think is frankly one of those traits I think you want to see maybe show a little bit more from the Florida linebackers this coming season. I think, again, you saw too many gash plays, too many plays where linebackers weren't in the right gap and couldn't get over into that gap quick enough to prevent big, long runs. And I think Myles Johnson's kind of nimbleness, his athleticism, both getting sideline to sideline, but also in some of those short areas, in his explosiveness, his ability to close distance. I think those are really interesting traits that I'm kind of looking for. And again, to kind of build into that Florida linebacker room as we stand here, but also obviously in the future with Myles Johnson. And I wanted to show a couple other plays that kind of signify that he wasn't necessarily just a finesse player. I mean, a guy who, again, when he came downhill and when he was playing fast downhill, I think you saw that ability to take blocks on, be really, really physical at the point of attack, stack blocks, shut them. Again, those things that sometimes with those really, really good athletes, they like to use their speed. They like to play in space and try to beat blocks only with their quickness. But yeah, that's not a bad thing necessarily. That's part of football for sure. You want to be able to have that athleticism to beat blocks just by being fast enough and being able to cover enough ground. But at the end of the day, kind of like what we said, when teams want to be able to run the ball, smash mouth a little bit, run the ball in between the tackles, there's not that much space to be able to use your athleticism. You also need to be able to bring that punch, be able to bring that physicality to blockers and make those type of plays. So again, I think you see that in this, just another quick play that I think exemplifies that physicality that he brings, that explosiveness, that physical nature. And And frankly, also just that will to do it. I mean, there's the element I think you want to see the physical ability to do it, but I also think there's like a mentality that you need your linebackers to play with. I think we've been talking, wanting to see this Florida team just be a little bit more physically imposing, a little bit tougher. I think you're starting to see that build out. But I think Myles Johnson, again, when you kind of see some of the things he does, he has the traits you want to see. And at the end of the day, I think really what you're kind of looking for from him in Ron Roberts, especially as it pertains to his development, is just playing a little bit faster sometimes, being able to be more consistently playing downhill, trusting your eyes, and going to make those plays. I think that's kind of, again, just those instincts, building those up, allowing him to use that athleticism and play really fast consistently. I think will frankly be the things I'm going to be looking for from Ron Roberts to develop him. And again, I don't think there's a better coach to have to develop raw athletic guys than Ron Roberts. And again, I think it's really good to see Ron Roberts hit the recruiting trail, be able to close some of these recruitments and beat out some big schools for obviously talented players, because that's probably when you look at Ron Roberts' career, maybe his one question is you didn't see him necessarily at those build his career up through those big power recruiting places. You saw him build them through some of the smaller schools, especially in Louisiana and Texas. But again, his ability to develop, and also you're starting to see him recruit a little bit, or show his ability to recruit at that higher level. I think that's kind of what you wanted to see, frankly, as a Florida fan, and kind of demonstrate his ability to be successful at this school. So big props to Ron Roberts getting a really, really interesting guy that I think, again, as a masterful developer, I think he'll do a really good job with. So, again, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more Florida news coming up. Hopefully, they can build some momentum on this recruiting trail and close this class out on a high note, which is obviously off to a slow start. But in today's day and age, everything comes down to National Signing Day. Florida obviously was maybe on the wrong side of that last year. No doubt it's going to have their share of flips and build this class out the right way. I think you just have seen Billy Napier really do a good job of building that recruiting base in Florida. I have no doubt they're going to finish with a pretty solid class. And then it's going to be up to development. So, again, Vernell Brown coming up, obviously a big big decision for the Gators. And obviously, as that news kind of hits, we'll certainly be breaking it down. But that's all we had for today. Thank you guys for rocking with us, and we'll see you later.